Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome, as always, to the PSGL YouTube channel. It is the turn of the F4 League to take centre stage tonight. It is the Season 27 curtain raiser here at the Albert Park Circuit here in Melbourne. My name is Jake, and I am joined by Felix, my co-commentator for the rest of the season. We're doing this in reverse to normal, because, unfortunately, Felix couldn't log into the PSGL account. So tonight I'm on lead commentary duty and camera duty, and it should still be a really good night's racing. How are you doing, Felix?
I'm doing very well. I'm actually looking very much forward to this one. I mean, we've slightly been promoted from doing F5 last season, and now we're back with F4 then. So yeah, I'm excited to see if this is going to be at least similarly exciting as it was in F5 last season. And I can definitely recognise some names in here, gotta say.
Absolutely, yeah. We didn't actually do the pre-season race last week, but I did have a look at the results, and it was actually very close. Just half a second separated the top two in the end, which were Max, who won just ahead of Kryptonite. So if that's anything to go by, just half a second between the top two, we could be in for a very similar to race to the one we had in F7 yesterday.
Yeah, F7 got off to a good start, I'd call it, especially for Melbourne, which is usually not known for a track which provides us with a lot of racing and a lot of action. I'd still say it's a nice and flowing circuit. Obviously, as a street circuit, it's quite tight, I'd call it. Not many possibilities to overtake other drivers, but I gotta say I quite like Melbourne. I mean, it's got a lot of grass. It's not a typical street circuit as you know it from nowadays with the tight rolls and stuff, but you've got a lot of gravel, you've got a lot of grass, so you're actually being punished for the mistakes you make, and I think we could see a lot of mistakes, and with the high-speed corners as well, I think penalties could come into play as well.
Absolutely, and one thing I have noticed has been a very common theme so far in the PSGL races that have already done their Melbourne race. Tends to be a lot of safety cars here. Is that something you're expecting to see again tonight?
I mean, we could. We've got quite a filled-up grid with 18 drivers. That's a really good turnout, especially comparing to last season. The Atmans have done a really good job of getting that sorted for the new season. I think we could see some safety cars, especially on lap 1. You know, turns 1 and 2 are very tight, not a lot of space for the drivers, and if 18 cars are trying to go into the same corner at once, then we could see maybe a bit of carnage on lap 1.
Definitely, and I'm on board at the moment with MC Crew, who was actually meant to be a reserve last week, but actually got promoted to being the full-time driver in the Haas this season. And he's just coming up to turns 9 and 10, which I believe is called the Park Chicane. And then coming up now to the end of Sector 2, and for me, the most challenging part of this track, turns 11 and 12. It's so easy to go wide through turn 12 and, well, if it's in the race, destroy it.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to pick up a penalty, especially in the right-hander then, because it's so fast, and if you don't get the entry right into the left-hander, the right-hander's already compromised, because you have to get a perfect line through there to actually nail it, and if you don't get that right, you might pick up a penalty or lose massive amounts of times. And that outside curb, it's really tricky, not gonna lie. It can throw the car around, it can spin the car around, and we might see that in quali already.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt about it. And already we've got a lap time in from MC Crew, 1:19.1, which is already quicker than the pole time I saw in F7 yesterday, which is a 1:19.2. Would you, in terms of a pole time here, what would you sort of be looking at for F4?
It's interesting, you know, we've got already low 19s, so that's a good start. I think yesterday in F7 the pole time was a 1:18.9, as we see a 1:18.8 already. That's a good lap time as a banker. I reckon we could see some maybe low to mid 18s, but I'd rather think we will see low 18s towards the end of the session. If we're already starting with like 18.8s and 19.1s, I think we could see a low 18 second lap time, 1 minute 18 second lap time, not 18 seconds. That would be a bit, that would be even shorter than Bahrain. But yeah, that I think that could be around the lap time, but we'll have to consider that it's really difficult to nail this track with it being so tight, and also with the sunset, the shadows are not making it easy either.
No, definitely not. It's one of those tracks really that sometimes the shadows can almost distract you through some of the corners. Very nice lap time, I have to say, from Kazizel for 1:18.8. The top two from last week's pre-season race, Max and Krypton, have slotted into 5th and 6th, respectively. In terms of, obviously, we did F5 last season. The only driver we've actually got, I mean, there is Gavin as well, but he's not racing tonight. But the only driver we obviously saw first-hand last season is Ghost. He's just invalidated his first lap and he's coming back into the pits. How do you think Ghost will fare? Obviously, won the F5 title last season, but this is quite a big step up, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, F4 is really quick this season, I'd say, and it's quite a big step up. Even if it's only one division, it might not sound much, but it is a very quality grid we've got this season, and it's not going to be easy for him, but I think his own expectations are quite high. As we know, Ghosts, he was very strong in the second part of the season. He didn't get off to the best of starts in the first half, but still managed to, get in the right rhythm towards the end of the season and then win the championship. And if he can get together his pace from the start straight away, then I think we could actually see him as a good contender for some podiums this season.
It would be good to see. He was very impressive in F5 last season. He actually missed a few races, but he just had really excellent pace, certainly towards the back end of the season, like you mentioned. He was really, really strong. And I'm going to just see how he transitions up to F4 here, because it's going to, I think both him and Gavin could surprise a few on this grid. Obviously we won't see Gavin until next week, hopefully, but yeah, at the moment, Kazizel is the only person who's got into the 118s, and I have to say that's probably around the ballpark we're sort of expecting here, and I think anyone who can get into the 18s is looking at a pretty decent grid slot.
Yeah, well, it's very early on in the session, and obviously the track gets a lot faster, but I'd still say that that's a pretty good lap time. But if Kazizel with his bankers sets an 80.8, he should be someone we should definitely look out for towards the end of this session, and I think he could be the man to take pole. I mean, what a great banker that is, and I'm pretty sure that he's a banker and not like pushed to the absolute limits.
And it really relieves the pressure off you when you get that opening lap in straight away. That's a good one, because you're then almost under no pressure. You've got that lap time in the bag and you're not then chasing it for the rest of the session. I think once you start messing up the first lap, it can become a bit of a habit in qualifying at times, as Vapor Nook goes second on the grid on a 19.1, although very, very quickly dethroned by Luke, who does an 18.9. Interestingly regarding Luke, he's actually the only driver last season who was in F2. He's actually been demoted a couple of tiers, didn't fare too well. I think he only did a couple of races in F2, but demoted 2 tiers. And how do you think that will affect his approach going into this season?
I think that should give him a lot of motivation. I mean, being demoted is never a good thing, and I can speak out of experience here, myself being demoted from F6 to F7 comparing to last season, so that definitely motivated me, and I think it could be a bit of a chance for him to actually prove what he's made of, and that decision might be wrong, and he wants to get that championship. If you get demoted by 2 divisions, you're definitely up there in the championship fight, I reckon, as Kazizel goes an entire 10 faster in the first sector. But what you've mentioned with the first banker and how important it is, I absolutely agree, because you definitely get into kind of a rhythm. Kazizel invalidates, sadly. But yeah, you've got a lot of pressure when you were only able to set 1 lap previously, and then you have to risk it all on your last lap. That's never a nice thing to have in the back of your mind. And yeah, if you then P14, P13, somewhere around there, as Cone goes fastest, only 0.02 of a second quicker, and you're in P13, P14, and you should be higher up than that, you have to risk quite a lot on your last lap, and yeah, that puts the risk of invalidating or making a mistake even higher. So yeah, a good banker is always important in a quality session, I'd say.
this could be a good improvement for Kryptonite. He's done. I actually watched his first attempt, and through turn 15 he went very wide on his first attempt. This looks a lot better this time round. He was already up on his time. It's good enough for P5 at the moment. There was a few people mentioning in chat about Kluzik, who they reckoned he could do a 19.0. Well, they're nearly spot on with that. He's doing a 19.1, which currently is good enough for 7th, but we're already seeing just how close it is. I mean, the top two separated by 0.02 of a second, and I get the feeling if you just find a couple of extra attempts on your lap, that could skyrocket you up the grid.
Yeah, with such a close grid, quali is always quite interesting and quite exciting already, and especially at a track like Melbourne, I'd call it. More important than on a track like Italy, I'd say, because like tracks like Italy, Spa, you could definitely overtake, but in Melbourne we've seen many times in previous seasons that it's very difficult to get past other drivers, and you might get stuck behind someone if you qualify lower than you should have in terms of your own pace. So quali is definitely an important factor here tonight.
Definitely. There's a lot of tracks coming up on the calendar where overtaking is a lot easier and maybe qualifying isn't so crucial, but I think here, like you mentioned, it's really important to be at the front end of a grid, and I certainly think if you're in the midfield, especially with such a full grid, you are running the risk of being involved in some contact in the first lap, and that can put pay to your entire strategy.
Yeah, it definitely could. I mean, you always want to stay out of that chaos on the first couple of laps or the opening laps, and if you can just qualify the car up high, you might stay out of that, and that could be crucial for you for the rest of your race. Obviously, if you're stuck behind another car, you could also ruin your tyres. And speaking of tyres, I just want to ask you, what do you reckon? What is going to be the strat to go? Because I think there are two possibilities. If you're not too good with tyre wear, you could go for the soft hard, but if you can look after the tyres a bit more than others, you might be able to do soft medium.
Well, the interesting thing I certainly found with F7 yesterday was that not a single driver started on the mediums. It was either softs or hards. So that's a bit of a strange one. It's not many tracks that you sort of see that strategy being deployed. So I think for those outside the top 10, the hard tyre is a good way to go. But yeah, for those inside the top 10, it really comes down to obviously if you have any safety cars or virtual safety cars. But failing that, I think soft to medium is doable. It just depends really. I think if you've done a qualifying lap on those soft tyres as well, it's going to be even more tricky. But tyre wear can play a big part here. There isn't too much difference between the pace of the medium and the hards. But if you can make softs medium work, it could be a race-winning strategy.
I can definitely tell you that the mediums of this track feel a lot nicer than the hards, especially with heavy fuel. The hards are really not that nice. It's very understeery. You don't have much grip, but the mediums just feel a lot better. You feel like you've actually got some pace, and they can tell you Kazizel only just made another mistake, and that was immediately after turn 1. Coming into turn 2, he lost the rear end, so after setting such a good banker, I thought he could definitely go quicker than that, and he's proven that in the first sector, but it seems like he can't get it together just yet.
No, and at least he's got that banker in there, but we could see another driver about to go near to the front of the grid. Is Vapor Noof, and he goes third on another driver into a 118.8 region, and he's actually the reserve for this evening. But if he does get a full-time role later on the season, or if he just keeps filling in for other drivers, with that sort of pace, he's one to look out for, because he did a very good opening lap as well, and he just keeps chipping away. And we've actually got DUX Simply? I don't know. He's going to have to help me out on that one.
I'd call him Simply.
Simply, yeah. Alright, we'll go with that. He's just got 6, so we've got 6 drivers now in a 118 region. And apart with the exception of Boss Wanted at the back, the whole field is covered by less than 8 temps. That's pretty mad.
Yeah, my crew got close to the 18s, but did not quite get in there. But yeah, it seems like a lot of drivers are pretty handy around this track. I was about to say handsome, like well, Vettel made the same mistake a few years ago in a press conference. I remember that. That's why I remember that it was handy, not handsome. But yeah, just call me Bottle. He made a mistake coming into the last sector, coming into turn 12, and into turn 13, I think it is. Turn 13. Lost the rear end on the exit, and I think he could have gone faster than his previous time because he backed off on the start finish straight then. And it's just a bit annoying when you've gone so far into that lap and it's looking quite tidy and it's looking quite quick, and then you make a single mistake and everything is gone.
Yeah, it's really... And I noticed in the build-up to this, he was actually called Just Call Me Bread. I really hope the change in name isn't a reference to how his previous races have gone, otherwise hopefully that won't be a recurring theme for him. I'm just on board in a moment with, because I don't think there's many people on a lap at this point, it's Jan, VRT Jan, who's obviously teammates with fellow VRT driver Loic, and I found it interesting reading up on this pair. They finished right next to each other in the pre-season race, and they were both in F4 last season, and they finished 1 point difference between them this season. So, and look at them in here in qualifying, they're right next to each other again. So, they must be two of the most evenly matched drivers ever.
Yeah, that's looking quite interesting between the pair of them. They're not at the front right now though, so they'll have to step up their game a little bit to the end of this session to climb up the order a little bit. Currently sitting in P10 and P11, which is not too bad, but not too great either. But P11, obviously fresh tyres, your own tyre choice, and that could give you a bit of an opportunity. But currently Klusik, is that Klusik? Is that what he's called?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he's currently on a lap, and it doesn't look too bad right now for him either. So he's currently sitting in P9, not in the 18s yet, but I think with what he's shown so far on this lap, he could go into the 18s, but I don't think he'll have another run after this. I don't think he's timed that all too well, if I'm honest.
No, and one driver who definitely hasn't timed it well is Jan, because he is now in the pits and he won't be able to do another lap, so he'll be the only one who won't be able to improve. Klusik's going to do his hot lap first. He could go for a second lap on the soft tyres. I do remember there was one driver yesterday who did that. I can't quite remember who it was, but it might have been Ugi actually. I think Ugi did a second lap on the soft tyres. It's not something you'd recommend, but it's definitely possible. Klusik does slightly improve. They said in the stream he could do a 19.0. He couldn't be much closer, but he improves in time and just moves above Krypton, who himself has started a lap. I think Boss Wanted might be the next one across the line. I think he didn't actually complete his lap. Luke
he was
has gone
down
quickest.
on his time. He was down on his time in the second sector, but it looks like his last sector was good enough to put him onto provisional pole right now. But we still got Kazizel, who's looking to be very strong. He's in the last sector right now.
Yeah, he's a 10th and a half up through sector 2, so he's once again finding time, but there's traffic. It's not going to help him through the corner. You can see the understeer he picked up there, just in the dirty air. Is it going to cost him a chance at pole if he goes up to the line? No, he still does it. He does an 18.7. I can't help feeling he could have gone maybe a 10th quicker there.
Yeah, I don't know if he lost more time or gained more time because of the traffic. He did get quite a lot of slipstream and down the run towards the start finish line, but you could definitely see that that dirty air coming into play there. So that definitely didn't help him. But that slipstream on the main straight then probably, maybe not entirely, but slightly gained him that time back.
No, Cohen was on an improvement by a 10th, but he invalidated through turns 11 and 12. So that's his effort gone. He would potentially looking at climbing up even further. Max is a 10th up. He's currently in P5. If he can keep this going, he could also...
comes across the line.
Oops.
Sick.
We got anybody else who's going to potentially improve on board with Max at the moment? There'll be people coming across the line, I'm sure of it. But not too many improvements late on so far, from what I can see. I think someone's just jumped up now. It looks like it was Just Call Me Bottle who's gone up to 11th. But here comes Max. Is he going to improve? He was 5th. What's this good enough for? He stays 5th. He only improves slightly in time, and I think that's everyone now.
Yeah, he slightly lost some time in the last sector. He was up by 10th, but then it was only up by 400ths of a second or something coming across the line. So I think he definitely could have put his car on the front row there, but did not manage to do so in the end. Sadly for him, that last sector was just not good enough. It looks like at least the second row it could have been for him, but yeah, now P5, not too bad for him. But yeah, that's our first quali of the season over then.
Yeah, I mean, Max won the pre-season race, but I don't think any of the top 4 in qualifying here are actually at that, so I think it just shows that the Alfa Romeo duo are looking very good. It's Kazizel on pole. We've got Luke in second, Cohen third, Vapornoof in fourth, Max in fifth, Simply in sixth, MC Crew in seventh, Kluzik eighth, Kryptonite in ninth. We've got Jan completing the top 10, and then outside the top 10, we've got Bottle, Loic, Lyrionics, there you go, nearly butchered that, is Ryan in 14th. We've got D Spreen in 15th, Gabri in 16th, Ghosts in 17th, and then Boss Wanted a little bit off the pace, has to be said, in 18th, although maybe he just didn't quite get the lap together in the end.
Yeah, that's not really a competitive lap time if you're in F4, if you ask me, but he's got enough laps to turn it around in the race now. 29 as far as I'm aware, and that should definitely be enough to gain some positions to fight back a little bit. And yesterday in F7, for example, we saw that the pole sitter had thrilling pace in quali, but in the race was, I don't know if he was the fastest man on track, but he was definitely not the fastest man by far. He was probably on the same pace as some other guys yesterday. So yeah, quali, you know, it gives us an indication of some pace, but the race is something different. You know, heavy fuel load, different tire strategies, different tire wear, and in the end, one lap pace doesn't bring you anything if you can't get it together in the race. So that's going to be an interesting thing to see at the end here.
Yeah, and a couple of words from inside the F4 paddock. Luke was complaining he was blocked on his final effort, so maybe that was what cost him a chance at pole. Meanwhile, D Spreen, otherwise better known as Dan, was very disappointed how his qualifying went, starting in 15th. So he'll be hoping for better in the race. In terms of the tyre choices, very different to F7 actually. No one chose mediums in F7, but a lot of drivers are favouring it in F4. We've got Bottle, Loic, Lyrionics, Ryan and Ghost all starting on them. D Spreen started on softs, and then we've got Gabri and Boss Wanted on the hard. So an interesting variance there outside the top 10.
Yeah, I'd like to keep an eye on Spreen then. I mean, he's starting on fresh softs outside the top 10 and down in P15. That's not far up, to be honest, but I think it could climb up the order on his first stint then, because the next 4 drivers up ahead are all on medium, so he should have quicker tyres. He should have slightly better pace than them then. And we'll have to wait and see if that actually works out, because I feel like if you start outside the top 10 and you're starting on the option tyre or the softest compound, then you're kind of wasting that set. I feel like your advantage of fresh tyres is not really there anymore then, because you know, you're wasting it in traffic more or less. Obviously you're using it to overtake, but you could still use that soft set a lot better in your second stint then, if everyone else is on slower tyres then.
Absolutely, and later on in the race as well, it's more likely that the field will be a bit more spread apart. I mean, if you're on softs and you're caught up in a DRS train, you're a bit stuck there, aren't you? There's not really much you can do with those tyres.
It's going to be interesting to see what he does, but yeah, medium soft definitely. Yeah, it's definitely possible. I'd say you'd need to take the softs around 11 laps, and if you've got a fresh set of softs, then 11 laps are definitely possible. But on those used softs from those guys in the top 10, we'll have to wait and see if they're pitting around lap 8, lap 9, lap 10 maybe. Most people are probably going to go on to the hard compound, but if you can just drag those softs till lap 11, you should be able to make the soft medium work.
Definitely, and we got the cars lining up now, so we're not very shortly we'll have lights out for the first round of season 27 here in PSGL F4. We should have pretty much everyone lined up now. Yes, indeed we do. I think we can safely ignore that yellow flag in sector 3. Right, here we go then. When the lights stop illuminating, it's away we go here for F4. It looks like a pretty good start actually from Luke, who may have got a jump here on the Toro Rosso, but no, it actually was the Toro Rosso, or AlphaTauri rather, of, forgot who that was, sorry, who took the lead there. So not the best start in terms of track position for the Alfa Romeos, but yeah, pretty status quo there. And it looks like it might be Kryptonite, or Lyrionics in fact rather, who got a really good start, as did Krypton, and just in front of him. So both Renaults off to a decent start.
Yeah, in the back it looks like they kept it more or less clean. There was some slight contact made, but not too much, and I don't think there was any damage done to any car. It's incredible to see the cars flying past the camera here, and we've got a Red Bull on the move. I think that's Jan down the inside of Klusik, and he's spun round, and that has not gone well. That has not gone to plan for the Red Bull, and he's down in last on lap 1.
Yeah, that's a disaster for Jan, not what he needed at all. Apologies to Kazizel, I actually forgot his name at the start. But yeah, he has maintained the lead pretty well. I actually thought the Alfa Romeo had got the jump on Kazizel, but he's held that pretty well, and it's actually kind of status quo as you were at the front. With the exception, I would say Klusik got a pretty good start. Obviously, just had that contact with Jan, unfortunately. I think Jan would have avoided damage there, but obviously right to
Oh no! That spreen into the back of Lyrionics. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, spreen. Seems like he didn't expect the Renault head to go that slow, and he just completely went into the back of him and lost a big part of his front wing, and now has to pit. So that's disastrous after starting on the softs, and now it's actually a good thing that he started on the softs.
Yeah, I wonder if, like you said, in his eagerness perhaps to make up positions on those soft tyres, maybe just got a little bit too hasty there to make the moves, but now he can run the hards, and if there's a safety car later on, it brings him right back into contention, so all is not lost just yet for him. But yeah, the front, it's all pretty evenly spread at the moment, and Max gained a position on Villeneuve at the start, so he'll be happy with that, because he may have felt like he should have started there after qualifying, because he did sort of mess up the final sector of his last lap a little bit.
Yeah, Max having a good start so far. But yeah, not many drivers who gained incredible amounts of positions, but some drivers that moved up slightly. McCrew has not had the best start, dropped 2 positions, and then Ghosts had quite a good start, coming from 17th up into 14th already, but obviously 2 positions from that is because of Jan, who spun round, and then Spreen, who has lost front wing on the first lap. So yeah, still 3 positions have been gained from him, and maybe he can gain a bit more throughout the entirety of the race.
I have to say as well, say we got 18 cars, they all kept it relatively clean on the first lap. We only had a couple of real incidents, but it's a real blow for Jan now, because he's dropped to the back. Obviously he hasn't got damage or anything, but on those soft tyres now he's really out of position, and that really is going to affect his strategy throughout the rest of his race, I would have thought.
It's looking interesting right now. The gaps are not really spreading all too much. I mean, until down into P12, everyone's within that 1 second window of the car ahead, and that definitely makes an interesting scene for the rest of the race. And Ryan has gone closer to Lyrionics as well, now within a second, and Boss Wanted is the first one to get a penalty in this race.
Yeah, that's not what you need so early on in the race. It really puts you on the back foot going forwards. But I think the key here really is maybe Loic in 10th place on those medium tyres. If he can just stay with the soft runners in front of him, that gives him a big advantage later on when he's on the quicker tyre. So right now I'd say the likes of Loic and the Lyrionics on those medium tyres are doing a very solid job here, just staying close to those soft tyre runners.
We're on lap 4 now of this race. I've got to say the first 4 laps have gone by quite quickly, not gonna lie. Our first 3 actual laps, we're on lap 4 now, so 3 laps have been raced already, and it looks like Kryptonite is slightly losing the back foot, slightly losing time to Klusik. He's not able to stay within that 1 second window, and yeah, interestingly enough, I gotta say, in terms of those medium guys, like Panzer's doing quite a good job right now. I mean, he's within that 1 second window of McCrew ahead, and he's on the softs. And yeah, Panzer's on the medium tyres, so he should be slower in theory, but it's not like that on the actual racetrack then.
Yeah, Krypton does look like he's the one right now who is sort of lagging behind a little bit compared to those in front of him. The top 7 starting to get a pull away from him. And it's really close gaps here, so Kazizl could find himself start to come under a bit of pressure from Luke behind him, because he's definitely not pulling out any sort of a lead. And with that DRS available to Luke now, will he be able to potentially look at a move?
Most wanted with another penalty. 2 penalties already, and we're only on lap 4. So that's going to be interesting. But it looks like Cole has got some really decent straight line speed here. And he's catching up to his teammate. And obviously his teammate is the only one to have DRS on someone without DRS ahead. Apart from McCrew, who's coming close to Kryptonite now. Will he be able to make a move already? We're on lap 5. He's a bit too far away, I think. So it just stays behind for another lap. But I think McCrew could be the first one to actually make a move, which was not on the first lap then.
And I have to wonder as well, because it was something I saw yesterday in F7 with the Racing Points. They actually swapped positions to allow the other one to attack the driver in front of him. I almost wonder, as Cohen went for a very courageous move there, and he's going to lose out to Max. In fact, that completely eradicates any point I was going to make there, because Max has now slotted himself between the Alfa Romeos. And I have to say, I don't really know what Cohen was really trying on that one.
Yeah, smart play by Max, though. He just stayed behind, waited for a mistake, and there it was. He took the opportunity, engaged that overtake deployment mode of his battery, and then just went for the move. And now he can look if he can overtake the other Alfa Romeo as well. Spreen has retired, not a good start to the season for him. He wasn't last anyway, and then spun out, so it looks like he rage quit. And Cohen is into the pits.
That
has
can't
he
be
got full wind damage?
Yeah, I was going to say that can't be on schedule, so has he picked up some damage perhaps? No, he's no damage there from what I can see, so he's just opting for an early switch onto hard tyres.
Okay.
Maybe felt like he was being held up and wanted clear air, but that's a bit too early, I suspect.
I mean, 24 laps on hards, that's quite a challenge, not gonna lie. If he would have pitted onto, or what happened there, I think Max has made a mistake.
Yeah, Max has lost several positions. He's down now to 6th place, and he's still recovering, and Krypton actually run slightly into the back of him.
Oh no! He's got major front wing damage. What happened there?
Oh, that is an absolute disaster. And I have to wonder, was there contact between some of the drivers? Because it looks to me like Vapor Noob has actually dropped behind Simply and Kluzik. So something must have gone off there, because there's been a real change in position. In fact, as Krypton is now losing positions
Vapor
as
Noob
well.
has got damage as well.
Yeah, so there must have been contact between the pair of them then. I'm assuming Krypton's losing positions as well. So has he got damage too, as we see that's Vapor Noob running wide as he tries to recover to the pits, but well, we missed that, but that's massive drama there, and that's a real blow for Max, who had just started to make up really good ground in the race. And yeah, Krypton's in as well, so Krypton must have picked up damage. I saw him slightly tap the back of Max, and I wonder if that's where he's got his damage.
Yeah, that definitely helps Kazizl, because he had quite good competition right behind him, and then suddenly everyone is just gone. I mean, Luke is in the pits, we've got Vapor Noob in the pits, we've got
oh, and the two Alfa Romeos are going to be side by side coming out of the pits. Oh, and it just is Luke who slides in front of Cohen. Wow. Whatever. I'm a bit surprised Luke has pitted as well. Maybe it's an Alfa Romeo strategy they're going for, but well, it didn't work out too well in terms of rejoining the track. They both came out alongside each other.
Yeah, that was really close. I don't think there are any team orders in between those guys. But let's keep an eye on the gap between the leader and the two Alfa Romeos, because if they can pick up the pace just that little bit more now, they might be able to get within the pit window of Kazizl, and then maybe, just maybe, they'll rejoin ahead. But it looks like Luke has made another mistake then. Goes picks his first penalty of the race then. And yeah, that was very eventful on lap 6 of this race then.
And I wonder as well, all that contact between the soft tyre runners, that further plays into the hands of the likes of Loic, Lyrionics and even Ryan as well. as Cazizl responds to what the Alfa Romeos are doing and pits straight away. So that must be in response to what those two have done. I can't imagine that would have been what he scheduled to do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, lap 9, yeah, lap 8, lap 9 usually is the time where you should pit around. Let's see where Cazizl comes out.
He's comfortably in front of them.
Ahead, yeah. He's got a solid gap. And it's not like F2 that you've got ice cold tyres, stone cold tyres, whatever. So the tyres should be up to temperature within maximum of half a lap. Yeah, suddenly we've got Simply in the lead.
Yeah, and didn't quite catch as well, but there has been a change in position for third place. Lyrionics was actually behind Loic, but he's now overtaken him. And if anything now, Loic might be coming under some pressure from Ryan as well in the Mercedes. Not someone we've seen too much of Ryan this evening yet, but he's slowly coming into play here and looking pretty dangerous behind a Red Bull driver.
Yeah, comfortably ahead of his teammate, 3.6 seconds. That's a solid gap to pull within the first 8 laps. And look at, Lyrionics lost the rear end completely out of turn 13. And that's going to put Loic in a great position to make a move on the Renault. That was just Simply on traction. Speaking of Simply, he pits and picks up a penalty. Lyrionics seems to have survived that huge mistake, and Loic was not able to capitalize on that mistake, but that was his big chance.
I don't know if that was an intentional segue there, but that was absolutely brilliant there. Simply. Simply onto
I just saw that
tyres.
pop up on the left hand side, and then I just thought I'd throw it in there.
And he rejoins just behind the Alfa Romeo duo, but he's got that 5-second penalty now to worry about. And we see that so often. Drivers, especially when they know that they need to make every millisecond count, they just push that pit lane speed limit too far and pick up an unnecessary 5-second penalty.
I feel like Ryan is a bit held up by those two guys ahead. Loic, I think, could go a bit faster than Lyrionics as well. And Ryan, I think, could be the fastest man out of those three, but he can't find a way around the Red Bull because he's got the DRS as well. He's not got a major straight line speed advantage, and looks like Lyrionics has got quite some straight line speed as well as Loic locks up coming into turn 13. And I knew that turn 13 would be tricky, but we saw quite a couple of mistakes now just on traction then on the outside curve there.
Yeah, and this is really pivotal now point to the race for these top three. They really need to keep pumping away with the lap times and try and make those medium tyres last, because if they can go onto softs later on, it gives them a real chance to fight back against some of those drivers ahead of them towards the end of a race. But yeah, for sure, Ryan looks like he's been slightly held up here. But this is one of the beauties of Melbourne. It's not, track position really is key. It's not easy to overtake here. And, you know, sometimes you can be in a position where you know you can go a lot faster, but you just can't use it. And right now, Ryan wants to get past, but he also knows he can't risk anything too major because there isn't really anywhere for you to go at this track in some of the corners.
Look at his ERS amount as well. He's got loads of ERS compared to those two guys ahead. And I can see Loic is locking up quite a lot of times now, so he might be struggling with tyre wear already, which is not good at all if he wants to make that switch onto soft tyres. And I'd say the maximum you could do on soft tyres is 11, maybe, just very, very maybe, if you're very careful on the tyres, you could take them 12 laps.
Yeah, and of course, penalties is something we can keep an eye on here. I have to say, really thank you to Codemasters on actually providing us with that graphic now on the screen to show us penalties, because it removes the debate of do we look at them or do we not.
Yeah, that's actually a good thing. I was very happy to see that being introduced from Cody's, one of the few good things they've done this year. But yeah, it's looking very interesting right now. I mean, it's not really certain what's going to happen with this race, and you're not really sure how the strategy is going to, you know, affect the race in the end, because now the top 7 are all on different strategies than the second half of the grid. So interestingly enough, we've got 2 different tyre compounds within P4 and P7. and all of them haven't pitted yet. So the hard runners, I don't know if the overcut will actually work. They can definitely go into softs, but if some of the medium guys just absolutely ruin their tires now, they might have to switch onto hards, but I really doubt they would want that.
And after that early error for Jan, he actually stayed out the softs a little bit longer, pitted on lap 10, and he's gone on to mediums, so he's actually the only one in the second half of the grid who will be on a slightly quicker set of tyres here, and see if he'll be able to make up some of the time he lost earlier on by doing that. But he's not in too bad of a position actually, thanks to the issues that Krypton and Max have had. He's actually ahead of both of them, so his pace is good on the mediums. He could come back into play later on, but there are signs here that Lyrionics is just pulling a little bit on Loic, and Ryan again looking frustrated behind that Red Bull. There's just no way past, especially while Loic has the DRS himself.
Yeah, he's just having a little look on the inside, just appearing in Loic's mirrors, just telling him, hey, I'm still there. And Boss Wanted has been passed by Kazizel, even though Kazizel has already made his pit stop, so he's still pretty much in control of this race. But if we have a look at the gap to leader, currently if Lyrionic pits, I reckon he would come around he would come out around P13, P12 maybe, if he can stay ahead of McCrew. But yeah, if he stays out longer, I think he might drop down to at least 13 then, and it's not going to be good for him. But if he can catch up to Simply, the gap's are really not that big.
No, and Simply's looking pretty menacing behind Cohen at the moment. We saw in the first stint, Cohen felt like he was being held up by his teammate Luke and went for an audacious move, but I have to say Luke looks a lot happier on those hard tyres than his teammate does, and Simply looks like he's in a position here to maybe make a move and split the Alfa Romeos. And I think Luke will be almost hoping here that his teammate can do a bit of a favour for him, because Simply looks pretty good on those hard tyres.
Yeah, he does. Simply pretty quick right now, and I tell you what, it's so frustrating for Ryan right now, because he can't do anything with the strategy right now either. He has to wait until he can pit onto softs, and you can't really make the undercut work because your softs are just going to die out completely towards the end of your stint if you pit too early. So
and as Luke slides down the inside of Boss Wanted, that was a pretty good move and a crucial move as well. He knew he needed to make that move as quickly as possible. Fair play to Boss Wanted, gave him the space to make that move stick, but he has to try and stay with Kazizel, who is going to be closing in very soon on his next car, and you can't imagine, with them being AlphaTauri teammates, that Just Call Me Bottle's going to make it too difficult for him.
I don't think he will, but I gotta say, Ryan is close to Loic at some parts, but the DRS really just saves Loic from an attack from the Mercedes driver behind him. And it's a bit like in real life that the Mercedes has got problems overtaking other cars. And I think Ryan would be so quick in clean air right now, but he just can't do anything about it at the moment.
The only thing he can maybe try is sort of the do whatever they don't do strategy when it comes to the pit stop window, but if they pit on lap 17 or 18, I don't see how Ryan's going to make the overcut work.
Especially on fresh softs, and Cohen has gone past most Boss Wanted, not Most Wanted, and can he fight back? I don't think he'll try to, if I'm honest. Let's see if Simply can slip through as well. No, he can't, and he's staying behind. But I don't know if it's just a thing of the spectator view on the cars, but I see a lot of lockups.
It's quite strange.
Is that the same for you?
Yeah, I just saw a lockup there, as you mentioned it from Cohen. It's not really, like, I wouldn't say there's plenty of other tracks where you consider lockups to be more of an issue, as Simply goes down the inside of Boss Wanted. Boss Wanted is fighting this one quite hard, but there's nothing he can do when he goes into the glances of wall, and that's not going to do him any favours at all. He must have a bit of damage from that.
looks like he's gone through that unscathed, but look at that save from Boss Wanted. He completely lost the rear end there out of turn 12, and that was a brilliant save there. Good car control from the Racing Point driver.
I'll have to take your word for it. I cut away at just the wrong moment. I only cut away because Zizzle was making his way past his teammate. I caught the last end of it as expected. It didn't look like his teammate made it too difficult for him. And it's really good here for Kazizel because he's pulling out this, while they're going through this traffic, he's building the gap over Luke. It was 2 seconds. It's now up to around 3 seconds. So Kazizel right now is in the pound seat and is doing everything he needs to do to maintain the lead of his race.
Yeah, Boss Wanted did have some damage, so he'll have to pit now once again. He fits the mediums. If that would have been like 2 laps later, he probably could have pitted on 2 softs then, but yeah, that's just a bit too far. And what I'm noticing, if I go on board with Ryan, Lohic is really using the outside curb through turn 9. Oh, it's technically the inside curb of turn 10 then. And Ryan is avoiding it as best as he can. He's completely staying off that inside curb of turn 10. And that's where he loses some time, so looks like he's not that comfortable with traction then on that curb, and Loic is. So Loic is gaining quite a lot of time because of that.
I don't know if this is something to consider as well, but certainly on this game I found there's quite a lot of like certain drivers will just favour different tracks, and I have to say the sort of the layout of this Australia track, it might not be representative of a true order of this F4 grid.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, every driver has their different strengths and their different strong tracks or weak tracks.
Oh, because this all goes down the inside of Gabri, and I have to say he's having no issues at all getting through his cars. Gabri quite sensibly almost just hands him the inside there. I don't think he knows it's not really his fight, and Kazizel just continues going through the traffic, and it just seems to be a really straightforward drive for him so far. Nothing seems to be going wrong for him, you know, but who knows, there could be many things to happen later on. We could see safety cars.
I think we all said the same about George Russell, if I'm honest, in the real life Bahrain Grand Prix, but we all know how that ended up. But luckily on the game we don't have such issues with pit stops and mixed tyre sets. But yeah, there could still be a safety car, and that could just turn the race up on its head then. But we're coming close to the pit window of the medium runners then in the top 4, so interesting to see when the first of those guys will decide to come into the pits, and it looks like the top 3 are all going to come out around P12 behind McCrew.
Yeah, they might actually feed into some nice clear air there behind McCrew, because there's a sort of almost 5-second gap there between McCrew and Vapornoob, so if they can...
Oh, but look at Simply.
Oh, Simply.
He's catching up to Cohen, he's minimizing that. He's been minimizing that.
That's a great exit as well from turn 2. He's really going to have an opportunity here. He's not... Oh, he's trying to squeeze his way down the inside. He was determined. But Cohen was going to give him that space down the inside, and he makes the move stick. And I have to say, he's been looking really quick on those hard tyres, but he made sure he got the inside there. He wasn't going to take no for an answer on that one.
That was a good move. That was very fully committed, as Boss Wanted just retired in the pit lane, sadly. But yeah, that was a good move. I mean, you have to be committed if you want to overtake in Melbourne, and he had that commitment, and he went down the inside. He knew he had to get that, and
as Loic Panzer goes down the inside of Lyrionics for the lead. The medium tyre runners are starting to fight it out, and it's maybe not the 2 we'd have expected. Ryan actually a little bit adrift, but Loic Panzer wants that lead back, and I wonder, are any of them going to pit this time around? For softs, Ryan, is he going into the pits? No,
yeah,
yes he is.
Ryan is.
Yeah, as I thought he sort of looked like he wasn't going to, but I think it was a case of they're not pitting, so I'm going to take this opportunity and sort of get out of their dirty air.
Yeah, I think that could be a great opportunity for him to make the undercut work and to actually get finally past those 2 guys who've been holding him up for probably like 10 laps now, or maybe a bit more even. But yeah, those 2 guys now have to push. They shouldn't be fighting each other on this lap then, if they want to both stay ahead. of Ryan, and Ryan has to make a really good outlap now, and he's just come out right in front of Vapor Nude, which was crucial for him.
That's absolutely critical, and that really has played itself right into Ryan's hands there. So, like you say, he's in a pole position here to get at the top of the soft tyre runners now and really take the fight to those in front of him as Luke goes down the inside of the Clark chicane on Just Call Me Bottle, and Luke is up to 6th place, and Kazizel now's got another important overtake to make as he's right behind Ghost. But to be fair, Ghost might be getting out of his way very soon anyway to pit, but Kazizel's not wanting to wait around for that, but he has to back out in the end. He waited for the move at turn 13, but Ghost was not prepared to give him the space.
Yeah, that was pretty close in between that, and Kazizel had no issues so far in this entire race getting past anyone, but it seems like he's met his first opponent who's actually making it difficult for him, but that has gone out of the window now as well as he pits, and Loic is in the pit, and Lyrionics, interestingly enough, has not pitted. So let's see where Ryan is in comparison to Loic. He should be getting the upper hand now as Loic comes out the pits, and yeah, he's comfortably ahead. And look at Loic, he's even behind Vapor Nude, so that extra lap cost him dearly.
That's a massive blow for Loic, and you got to think it's going to be similar for Lyrionics when he pits as well. So Ryan really made a good strategy there, and 12 laps on the softs, it's gonna be a little bit touch and go, but he should be all right on that. And with that pace advantage now, he's really going to start coming at the likes of McCrew and Kluzik in front, and it's going to be interesting to see what sort of ground he can make up here. But I have to say, strategy-wise, he's played this one pretty well.
Yeah, so far it has worked out quite well for him, but we'll have to remember it's still Melbourne. It's still difficult to overtake around here, and Melbourne, you know, you have to have that commitment to actually make some moves, and yeah, he has to be clinical with his moves till the end of this race. I mean, we've got 11 laps to go now, 10 when we cross the line, and Lyrionics should be in the pits now as Loic gets the position from Nuth and is up into the top 10 now.
And it looks like Simply now is fancying his chances against the other Alfa Romeo now of Luke. He really is flying on those hard tyres, so you know, he's dealt with one Alfa Romeo, he might be about to deal with the other as well, and Kazizel will not mind this one bit. He's got a 5-second lead now, he hasn't picked up any penalties yet, and if these two start fighting behind him, it's only going to help him. So right now I have to say it's looking pretty good for Kazizel, but as we know, anything can happen, and there is still quite a way to go as Ryan makes his way past McCrew and up into 6th place, and that's again an important move, and he dealt with it quickly.
That's Gabri. Gabri spun round.
Oh no, on the soft tyres.
Wrong way in turn 1.
And
he's given up.
Yeah, he decided to call it there. It's a shame, really.
Didn't see what happened, but yeah, I reckon there was some contact while he came out the pits. So yeah, very unlucky for him.
It is a difficult one when you're coming out of the pits. We saw it with the Alfa Romeos earlier when the two of them came out side by side. It's difficult to fit two cars into that corner at once.
And look at Simply. Simply's making a move on Luke now after he got Cohen earlier on in this race. He's going down the inside into turn 13, and he's got the move to stake right now. But Luke is going to have the DRS on the main straight. Luke goes slightly wide, and that completely compromised his run coming down into turn 15 then. And now round turn 16, Luke is a bit too far away, and it seems like Simply has made that move for 2nd place.
Very nicely done. I think Luke almost had a look back into turn 14, and he might have been better off just waiting and trying to get the run onto the pit straight, but I have to say, as Luke does the fastest lap of the races, he moves up into 7th place past McCrew. I have to say, Simply's looked really good on those hard tyres, and it works even better for Kazizel now, because Simply does have a penalty. And Simply's job now is going to be to try and build the gap over Luke, or hope that he gets a penalty as well.
Yeah, I mean, 3-second time penalties are always something that can happen when you just go slightly wide here and there, but yeah, that's just very unfortunate for him, getting that 5-second time penalty in the pit lane for speeding. That's just, you know, if you're in league racing and you know you've got the pace, that's just something you can't afford to do, I'm afraid, and he'll only have himself to blame for that then. But he's still got some laps to go to build up that gap, but it's not going to be easy. And to be fair, Loic is not too far away from Ryan.
Yeah, Lyrionics, I can't help feeling he stayed out a lap or two too much on those hard tyres. He might have been, oh sorry, mediums rather. He might have been better off pitting when Ryan or Loic pitted, because he's lost a lot of time to them, and that's going to be difficult to make up now, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 2 seconds, now it's down to 1.3 up to McCrew, and then it's another 2 seconds to Loic ahead. And remember, he was leading that pair of 3, and now he's just at the back of it, and there's even a slightly slower car on hards in between there. So yeah, that has not really worked out for him, but it seems like Luke is able to stay within that 1 second window right now of Simply, and that could be crucial because he needs to stay with him if he wants to keep that position for second. And I think as soon as Simply gets out of that, gets the car behind out of that 1 second window, then it's going to be an easy task for him building up those 5 seconds, and Lyrionics is left.
Yeah, that, even if he rejoins now, he's going to really lose out there. He's already lost 2 places.
Oh, Luke.
Oh, and Luke's got another penalty. Oh, that's a big blow for him. Well, that's his first penalty, isn't it? Yeah, his first penalty. Now, the good thing is, those around him haven't got as many penalties, but now Luke's biggest threat is going to be Ryan, who hasn't got any penalties and is on the soft tyres. In fact, not just Ryan as well. Loic is actually looking at this stage like he's a little bit quicker than Ryan, and this is roles reversed to earlier. Loic is the one who needs to get past Ryan.
And if Loic wants to get past, he should try and do it on this lap, because from the next lap onwards, I think Ryan is going to have DRS on every single lap because of the gap to the car in front. But I'm afraid he's a bit too far away on this lap to actually make a move. And now it's going to be, like you've said, roles reversed between those 2 guys, because it's going to be very difficult to pass Ryan when he's got DRS on the cars ahead.
I have to say, we haven't seen too much of him as well tonight, but credit to Ghost, the F5 champion from last season. He's now finding himself in the points in 9th place, and that's a pretty good recovery because he had a pretty anonymous night up to now.
Yeah, and he's on softs as well, so might become PA at some stage as Klusic picks up another pen. So yeah, that's not looking good. Simply as well. Simply is now up to 8 seconds of penalties.
Wow, so really you're looking at it.
Oh, and look at Loic.
Loic's got a great chance against Ryan.
Ah, he's got no ERS left though. That would have been his chance, but his ERS management has not been great up until that point, and that definitely cost him there. That could have been the move to get past Ryan in this race, but he just didn't have any ERS left, did he? And then, yeah, Ryan didn't really have to defend at all.
And now Ryan's going to be on the attack against Klusic. So this could be another chance though for Loic. If Klusic isn't so keen on letting these guys past, it might be a chance for Loic to take advantage. If anything, Ryan had a pretty poor exit at turns 1 and 2, but there's going to be nowhere for Loic to do anything about it. But this is really the crucial point now for these soft tyre runners. They might start to get stuck now behind some of these guys in front of them, and that will really cost them at the end.
Meanwhile, Ghost has gone past McCrew, so he is predictably up into P8 now. Like you mentioned, solid undercover recovery drive then, starting from P17 on the grid, now up to 8 then, would be some solid points then for him. But yeah, Ryan just does not seem to have the pace as Loic has, but if he can just stay within that DRS window of the cars ahead, he might be safe, but no, he's not safe at all. He has had a poor exit, and now he's looking for the outside Loic, and into turn 13, that's going to be difficult, and Ryan held him off very well in that situation. But yeah, Ryan is really struggling with his exits.
And I feel like we may have put the curse on another driver, because Ghost has now left the session as well, so hopefully he can rejoin, but he's already lost that place he gained on the crew. So the longer it takes him to rejoin, the worse it's going to be. Yeah, and he's dropping down, so that's a real big blow for him.
Did his car just pit? His car just pitted.
Oh no, that's absolutely devastating. I can't believe the game's done that to him, because he was on softs. I don't really.
Oh god.
what's made the game think that was a good idea. But yeah, that's ruined Ghost's race. He'll be glad if he's able to rejoin him, and he'll immediately be devastated when he sees what's happened.
I have absolutely no idea why the game would pit him at that point onto a fresh set of softs. I'm not gonna lie.
Makes no sense. They're absolutely bizarre. No. It's a massive shame for Ghost, really. But I have to say, really, that this is really costing Ryan and Loic right now. They haven't been able to clear Kluzik, and they are starting to maybe lose the edge of the performance of those soft tyres. And really, if anything, Kluzik isn't having to defend too much at the moment, and their charge has almost come to a standstill.
Yeah, we've got yellows in sector 2. That's Darionics, or is that? No, that's Kryptonite, and that's a VSC. That gives everyone the opportunity to calm down, save some ERS. And as far as I can see, nearly everyone apart from
Kluzik's got a 5-second penalty.
Oh no.
For a severe collision with Ryan.
Ah yeah, Ryan hit him. Ryan hit him.
Has Ryan got damage?
I'm not sure, but it doesn't look like it. It's at least not major, but it is said in the rules of PSGL that you might get a penalty for hitting another driver, because it's just so unnecessary. If you're just careful, then you should be hitting other cars. And I'm sorry Ryan, but that's just an amateur mistake, and you shouldn't be hitting cars under the VSC or full safety car. I mean, just look at what's going on up ahead. And
so would that be a suggestion perhaps then that Kluzik might have that penalty taken away as he goes onto the grass on the restart? And if anything, Cohen was caught slightly napping there, and he's got a ton of cars now right behind him as Ryan potentially looks at a move on Kluzik, but of course there's nowhere really for him to go here. You definitely don't want to be side by side through turns 11 and 12, but it's all about the exit here. We've seen Ryan struggle on the exit of this corner
Ryan's
previously, and Ryan's got picked up a penalty. But yeah, Kluzik might potentially have that 5 seconds taken away then, because it was Ryan that went into him, not vice versa.
Yeah, I think it should definitely be taken away, because usually the car ahead is barely at fault for any incidents, especially on the VSC.
And then Loic is looking at a move on Ryan, but is there anywhere for him to go? Not quite. Couldn't quite get alongside. And they're going to be pretty much line astern here up to turn 3. Is anyone going to be able to make a move? No. Oh, looks like Loic was looking for it there, but backs out at the last moment. And it's as you were between these four, but they've all in very different penalty situations. And it's Loic now who's in a driving seat in the penalty front at least.
Yeah, but I gotta say, on boards around Melbourne are just so satisfying, because you can see how nice and flowing this track is if you nail it, and it's just great to see all 4 cars now in a row and all following each other. It's just great to see. I love that.
And this is going to be a real opportunity for Loic here. He'll know that Ryan has previously been quite weak on the exit of this corner, but this time around it's pretty status quo between the 4 of them, and actually, if anything, Loic lost a little bit of time. And it is Cohen who's sort of dropping back into them now. Maybe starting to struggle. Of course, one thing to note with Cohen is he was the first driver to pit for the hard tyres. He pitted very early, if you recall. I think it was like 5 that he pitted, and I wonder if that early start's starting to come back and bite him a bit.
Oh my goodness, if you just take a little look at pens, then you might see that Kluzik has got 9 seconds anyway, even if you take those 5 seconds away. And Cohen has got the same amount of penalties, and Ryan has got 5 seconds as well. 5 seconds? Where did that 5 second come from? Did he speed under the VSC?
Yeah, that might be it, you know, because it came up right at the end, didn't it? So that would suggest that maybe he sped under the VSC, which is quite surprising, really, because they were all quite close together anyway, so it must have been very marginal.
I'm just having a look right now. Oh no, both got a 5 second penalty.
Oh, for the same collision then?
Yeah, both have got a penalty for the same collision, so that penalty from Ryan might be taken away, but it might stand as well. If it was his fault, then the stewards might not see a reason to take it away, because if you hit another car, then it's your fault. But let's look at Loic, who's closing up to Ryan, but once again he's not close enough. He's having a little look, but just too far away, and then loses the rear end out of 13 as well. And yeah, that just proves how difficult it is in Melbourne. But Kazizl is starting his final lap now.
And this is effectively a fight for position between Cohen and Kluzik. Then if Kluzik does get the 5 seconds removed, and I have to say, I think Cohen's hard tyres have seen better days, because he is really struggling on them now, and Kluzik might have an opportunity here if he can get a good exit here out this first couple of corners. It looked pretty good. Is he going to be able to make a move into turn 3? He's not got too much ERS left. Oh, and he's just going to run out of... Oh, he's going to go for a dive over the inside, but it just wasn't enough space. Is Loic further behind, goes side by side with Ryan, and Ryan just might just defend him off there, but both of them now getting quite split apart as Loic desperately tries to make a move, but there's nowhere for him to go through turn 6. And probably his next best opportunity would be the turn 9 chicane, but he got a slightly poor exit out of turn 7, and that has kind of killed his exit to the next corner. And it's looking like there might not be any other opportunities for moves, but it could be an opportunity for Loic here coming out of turn 12. We know Ryan has struggled. Does he struggle this time? No. Oh, he's run a bit wide actually. Yes, he has. So Loic has an opportunity now into turn 13. Is he going to be able to make the move stick? No, he doesn't actually go for it in the end. So I'm going to cut to the race winner, Kazizl. What a performance this has been from him. Pole position and a commanding victory. He takes the win here, and I have to say that is richly deserved for him.
Yeah, brilliant drive. I mean, never really in doubt at all. Simply drops down and should keep the podium. No, he doesn't.
No, he loses out by 2 attempts to Loic. So Loic snatches a podium there for Red Bull. That's a brilliant result in the end. Simply will be gutted to miss out on the podium. But it's Luke in second, Loic in third, Simply fourth, Ryan fifth. We've got Cohen in sixth.
Remember, Ryan has that 5-second penalty. I don't know what the stewards would say about that, but it might be removed, so it's a very provisional podium we've got.
Yeah, he was the driver behind though, so that might potentially put him at a disadvantage. You have to see what actually happened there. But yeah, and it's the final point goes to Just Call Me Bottle, so he didn't bottle the final point, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, a point is a point, might matter in the end. So, yeah, especially in PSGL where everything is that close. Driver of the day, it says Ryan, but for me, to be honest, driver of the day, Kazizl, because I mean, he dominated everything from the start away, and he just had the pure pace. It was just simply the quickest driver on track, and in the end, that's a well-deserved victory for him, and 16 points in the bag.
I can't disagree with you there. Like, I tried to avoid sometimes giving it to the race winner, but you can't really take it away from Kazizl. He never put a foot wrong, like you said. He absolutely dominated. Came under some pressure from the Alfa Romeos at times, but fended it off brilliantly. His run through the traffic when he pitted was superb, and he did an absolutely sensational job. I think both podium sitters as well. Thought Luke did a really good job. He was under pressure from a lot of the race from his teammate, but managed to hold it off well. And then Loic, thanks to not picking up any penalties, snatches that last podium spot away. I think the graphic there is slightly wrong for Simply, because that shouldn't be. I mean, if that was his time lost, he'd be behind Ryan, so that makes literally no sense. Gonna ignore that. I think it's meant to say 13.6, not 18.6. But yeah, some mega drives there, and I have to say that was a really excellent start to the season. And with there only been 12 rounds as opposed to 14 this season, every point you get is going to be more crucial than ever.
Yeah, I mean, good stuff. Good stuff. I'd call it a very entertaining race considering it was Melbourne. So, yeah.
Are you wanting to? Do you want to get the podium finishes in?
I will try if I'm able to do that, because with the new party system, I'm still very confused. So I'm gonna try. It's difficult to actually do the podium interviews right now, to be honest. At least I think that, because, like I said, it's just so provisional with all the penalties and stuff coming into play. I'm just not really sure.
Well, I'll tell you what we'll do then. If in that case, then what I'll try and do is I'll try and get some words from them during the week, and then we can talk about them next week. If that might be better.
Yeah, that might be a good thing. We could invite Kazizel though, because I think that race win definitely stands. Now, it would be great if you could tell me what's the easiest way to invite him now, because that party system.
I mean, if you can add players to the party, and then just add Kazizel, that might be the best way to go about it.
To look for his PSN then.
If you're wondering, there's like there's a dash between the A and the Z.
Yeah, I'm trying. Is there any other dash?
Yeah, there's a dash.
Kazizel 5.
There you go.
There we have him. Very good. I don't want to be unfair to any of the other podium finishes, but like I said, it's just that provisional that we can't really be sure who will be getting that podium. But also, I think we could invite Luke, if I'm honest, because I think Luke's podium stands as well. If you don't have anything against that.
Yeah, no worries for me.
It's VRT_Luke, right?
Yep, and then 95, I think. But it'll probably come up once you put in.
Yep. Alright, got it. That's good.
Yeah, so we'll have words from the top two very shortly.
Hopefully, if they'll join.
Yeah, well, I'll let you take the race winner if he joins, or whichever one of them does join. It's obviously not ideal, this new party system for things like podium interviews. I wish certainly would have thought of that.
Yeah, but I don't really see a reason why they've changed it, but they still did. So let me just have a quick look in the chat if anyone said that, if maybe Kazizel or Luke said that they won't be joining podium interviews or something.
Only thing I've heard was someone comment saying who put Kazizel in F4, this guy's a goat. So
well,
I can't disagree with that.
Proven very good pace today, so yeah, that's an appropriate statement, I'd call it. So yeah. Wait, I'm just gonna ask. Luke is here. That's good.
Hello, guys.
I'm just gonna.
Hello.
Ask Kazizel.
I'm just trying to get Kazizel in, and then we'll go for some questions with either just you or both of you.
Luke, you can already make sure that you've got your microphone voice on shared. That would be good.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's hearable on the stream, but if my PlayStation lands at someone's place, please let me know, because it's not far away from taking off now.
I've got to be honest, I'm so happy that I got this new mic. Kind of blocks out more of my PlayStation's noise, because mine's the same.
Alright, Kazizel said no thanks, so he won't be joining. So yeah, just do what you always do.
Yeah. Alright, congratulations Luke on P2. How did you find that race here tonight?
It was, to be fair, it was a bit of a boring race, because it was just driving laps. Not too much happened. Only some guys on other strategies that I had to pass, but apart from that, it was not that exciting.
I noticed both you and your teammate pitted quite early on the softs in the first stint. Was that something you'd figured out beforehand, or was it just spur of the moment?
No, we planned to do it, but because I listened to Koen, but he said it was faster, but in the end it wasn't like we didn't undercut anyone, so I don't think it was the best strategy. Also, in the end, we almost had a puncture, both of us. I was on 69% and he was on 72%, so it was a close one.
And we saw him try a little audacious move on you during the first stint. Was that a little bit surprising?
Who did you say?
Your teammate, Cohen, he tried a move on you at turn 9 during the first stint.
Yeah, he outbraked himself, so I was like, whoa, what the... I was scared to take him out, so I was like, oh no.
Was there anything you could have done about Kazizel, or was he just too quick today?
Yeah, he was just too quick. I didn't practice too much, and almost only my quali pace, so my race pace wasn't that great, but I'll I'll work on that for the next race and hopefully stay with him.
And a good solid points haul for Alfa Romeo. Is the constructors something you and your teammate are thinking a lot about?
Yeah, I think we both want to win the drivers' championship, of course, but if we could get the constructors' championship, that would be really nice.
And of course, looking ahead to next week, a very different kind of track to Melbourne, racing at Silverstone. How do you fancy your chances there?
I think I have a chance to win. My pace there is a bit like here, so, but if I just work on my race pace more than I did here, maybe see me one place higher on the podium.
All right, congratulations on P2. Very hard-earned result. Well done.
Thank you.
Have you got any further questions, Felix?
Not really. I think we covered everything I would have asked, so nothing to add. Just congratulations from my side as well.
Thank you.
All right, so good to hear from Luke, and yeah, that was a really entertaining season opener here at Melbourne. Have you got any concluding thoughts, Felix, before I wrap the stream up?
I think we've got a pretty exciting season up ahead. I mean, because this is dominated today, but still, I think it could have been a thing of Melbourne maybe, but we'll have to wait and see for next week when we head to Silverstone. But yeah, the racing was good. The grid looks very close. We saw some interesting strategies, and yeah, hopefully that will be the same for the rest of the season, and hopefully we'll have a good championship fight. And yeah, it looks promising, I'd call it.
Definitely, I can't wait for next week at Silverstone. Be sure to join myself and Felix for round 2, once again from 7 PM GMT. And from both Felix and myself, it's a good night from us, and we'll catch you all on the flip side.